So we get to Monday Night Raw, and the announcement is made officially that Seth Rollins is indeed injured, that Seth Rollins went in and had surgery, that Seth Rollins will be out for an extended period of time without any sort of specific length put on that. They also didn't necessarily say what the specific injury was. I don't think so. Just made reference to the fact that it was a shoulder injury, I believe. But I thought the first unique way of approaching it was that Adam Pearce said that one of his problems was that nobody will ever really know, and of course this is storyline we're talking about, but nobody will ever really know if Seth was injured in the Cody match or if Seth was injured by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Because the attack happened before Seth Rollins had been checked out by medical or anything, so there's no before and after there. And so that may be something that prevents Seth from coming back to Cody Rhodes, because of the injury. I mean, really, even if it did happen in the Cody Rhodes match, it happened while Seth was on offense. So I don't even see how that would be. But at least this way, we can attribute it to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed without people going, "What are you talking about? It happened in the Cody match." Well, we don't know. We don't know how. We know it was hurt, but we don't know if it was injured. Every wrestler will tell you there's a difference between hurt and injured. So the way they're setting it up leaves it so that you can give Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed some kind of credit for that injury happening, which I think is a good thing. Because honestly, even with the Battle Royal, even with the promo at the top of the show with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, the fact that Paul Heyman completely lambasted Seth Rollins. I mean, if there was any question as to whether or not Paul Heyman was all in on this, he just went to town about how Seth Rollins is no good and how Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed took their shot. I think that with all this happening, right? So as soon as I see that promo, I go, okay, well, what we had thought is the direction we would have to go in is officially the direction that we have to go in. Clearly. Unless this whole thing is going to be retconned and we're going to get, the Men in Black memory eraser stick in front of our face and be expected not to remember this night at all. Clearly, whenever Seth Rollins does come back, he's a babyface when he comes back. I mean, not a sort of tried and true white meat babyface, but a babyface nonetheless. Because the Vision has made enemies out of Seth Rollins because Paul Heyman started the show by running down Seth Rollins, which he didn't have to do, but he did. And instead of saying Seth Rollins got injured and he'll be back and blah, 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 but while he's gone, we're going to take over this thing, he basically painted the injury as if it was a weakness for Seth Rollins, as if it were evidence that Seth Rollins couldn't, quote unquote, shoulder the responsibility of leading the Vision. And Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed conspired to take that spot, to step in to that WrestleMania main event territory now by taking out Seth Rollins when he was weak. I think the most important part of this puzzle, in terms of where Seth Rollins lands when he gets back, was the quick interaction between Becky Lynch and Paul Heyman. I think Becky Lynch has evolved to the point where she is one of the best people behind a microphone on Monday Night Raw. And Paul Heyman has been one of the best people behind a microphone on Monday Night Raw for a very long time. So the idea that these two would come face to face, and like we were saying, and it does make sense, as much as clearly this wouldn't have been the plan because Seth Rollins was injured, they are using the sort of breadcrumbs that were already dropped to tell this new story so that even though Seth getting injured changes everything, as we say on the show, everything still counts. We rarely saw Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed together. There were a couple of times where they were together, but generally speaking, Seth conducted business in the last couple of months without the Vision. When he conducted business without the Vision, he was conducting business with Becky Lynch. Paul Heyman had very little to do with the mixed tag that was Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee and CM Punk. But Becky was there. Paul Heyman had very little to do with Seth Rollins being victorious in the Fatal 4-Way match at Clash in Paris. But Becky was there. You know, and seeing it kind of evolve past that to the point where, like, even though Becky wasn't there because she didn't go to Perth, nobody was at ringside for Seth Rollins in his match with Cody Rhodes because Becky had made a point to not go based on how she was treated at Monday Night Raw. But Paul Heyman and the Vision had already decided not to be there. So all that data is taken into effect, and you realize that Becky Lynch really does hate Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman, I mean, sleazebag, used car salesman that he is. Paul Heyman looks at her with a straight face, and he goes, no. This is win-win. We could offer you a hot... You're the breadwinner now, he says. You're going to take the financial responsibility. He says, you can have the best of both worlds. You can have a hot husband at home and an adorable oracle at work. And I'm thinking, where is HR? Where this feels like a major red flag here. This is an HR complaint waiting to happen. And Becky, and it was really interesting because, you know, usually it's Paul Heyman that takes on almost mafia-like speaking styles, almost a Godfather-like presence, the way he speaks. But then Becky, like, pulled him in by the tie, was crunching up his shirt, you know, slapping him in the face. That almost felt mafioso. And the threat that Becky made when she said, Paul, Seth Rollins never trusted you. Seth Rollins, unlike everybody else that you've brought up tonight, never needed you. He was using you. He knew you were going to betray him and was really surprised that it took this long, which I was like, come on, it's only been 6 months. Okay, there's no way it would have been shorter than 6 months. But she said, when Seth, don't worry, she said, and this was the most mafioso thing of it all. When Seth comes back, he's not going to kill you. He's going to kill everyone in this business who you love. But he's not going to kill you. No. You're going to be alive to see it all. She just kind of walks off. And I love that she said that, because that means that when we talk about Seth Rollins returning, and when we talk about the fact that when he returns, he'll be a babyface because he has to get revenge against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, the reality is that it doesn't stop there. She specifically said, everyone you love in this business. That means that when Seth Rollins comes back, his list, and he's coming back like John Wick, just showing up to go, you know what, I didn't want to have to do it, but I'm going after everybody that's wronged me, and I'm going to make my way all the way up to the top, right? So obviously, whenever Seth is back, and it could be months and months and months and months and months. I'm not saying this is you know, on the horizon coming up very quickly. But when he does come back, you're looking at Seth going after Braun Breaker. You're looking at Seth going after Bronson Reed. I think there is a reality that you're looking at Seth going after Brock Lesnar. I mean, Brock Lesnar is on that list clearly, and it's not even like you have to do the stretch. Clearly, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar still have a relationship on screen. Clearly, Brock had Paul come in, and Paul accepted. Remember when Brock said we should talk before his match at WrestlePalooza? Paul Heyman did the Brock Lesnar intro. Paul Heyman and Brock are back on good terms. So I think that Brock Lesnar would be next on the list. But what I love about this is that even though Seth would by default become a babyface because he's going after Brock, because he's going after the Vision, he's not losing his principles, because the other two people that Paul Heyman still does love in this business are actually babyfaces, and as a matter of fact, are the very two people that Seth as a heel already had rivalries with. The other two people, it's a list of 5. It's Bronson Reed, it's Braun Breaker, it's Brock Lesnar, and then it's CM Punk, and then it's Roman Reigns. Those are all Paul Heyman guys. Those are the guys, even when Paul Heyman cut his promo, when he was trying to calm down Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker over the fact that they were not in this battle royal. And those are the people. Who did he bring up? He said when Brock Lesnar showed up in 2002, he wanted to beat everybody on his first night, but he listened to me, waited his 5 months, became the world champion by beating The Rock at SummerSlam. When CM Punk was getting ready to get thrown out the door, even though he was WWE champion, he listened to me, and we turned 100 days into 434 days as WWE champion. And when the big dog was not making waves, when the big dog was doing WrestleMania main events that nobody remembers, he listened to me, and he became the tribal chief. I don't think that it's an accident that those three names were brought up. In that context, those three names were brought up so that it's like, okay, this is why Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are listening to Paul Heyman. But in the bigger scheme, with Becky Lynch saying, I'm going to kill everybody who you love in this business, he just gave you the list. The list was right there, right in front of your face. So it's interesting because, Roman Reigns, up until now, was in a similar position in the sense that he is the one who is positioned as on the other side of the vision. Seth and Roman have the same enemies, except Roman is also on Seth's list now. And, I think it could get really interesting if you can, and I think you can, if you've got Seth not changing too much of his character, still thinking of himself as the Vision, but realizing he has to do it completely on his own. Seeing him do it completely on his own. Seeing him take out the people that wronged him. Seeing him go after Brock Lesnar. Seeing him do all of this stuff is the type of thing that could get fan support behind Seth Rollins. I think the idea that he's doing it on his own takes him back to like a WrestleMania 40 era Seth. Where, coming out of WrestleMania 40, Seth had all the support in the world. Unfortunately, he was injured, and there was only so much you could do to execute on that support. I think he could gain that much support again when he comes back after this injury, especially if this is the mission that he's on. And then who knows how those characters of CM Punk and Roman Reigns evolve past that. So beyond that, you had you had Bronson Reed. By the way, Bronson, Braun, and Brock we're going heavy on the alliteration there with the Paul Heyman guys. But Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are told they're not going to be in the Battle Royal. The announcement is made that there's going to be a Battle Royal to find out who faces CM Punk at Saturday night's main event for that vacated World Heavyweight title. But these two aren't going to be in it because of the way Braun Breaker treated Adam Pearce at the beginning of the show. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I love a Battle Royal. I think Battle Royals are great. Number one, they happen all in one shot. Like, it's one match. It's not a tournament. It's not anything. I like tournaments and all that too. But you don't see high-stakes Battle Royals as often as you used to. And I love a high-stakes Battle Royal. I also love Battle Royals because in the beginning of the match, anything can happen. You're looking at this, and for the first time, you've got Ivar one match away from the World Heavyweight Championship match. Ivar, all he had to do was win that match, and now he's fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. Tozawa, all he's got to do is win this Battle Royal. Now he's fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. So I love early on in a Battle Royal where you could have all these possibilities are still at least on paper in front of your face. I get very excited by it. It brings me back to like one of my favorite non-Royal Rumble Battle Royals, which was the I want to say 93, maybe 94, Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal when Shawn Michaels went home with the Intercontinental title. And on Monday Night Raw, they did a Battle Royal where the final two men in the ring would then wrestle the next week for the Intercontinental Championship. And I'm sitting there as a kid watching this Battle Royal. And I'm like, it could be anybody. We could be looking at Coco Beware versus Damian Demento for the Intercontinental Championship. We could be looking at the Repo Man versus Doink for the Intercontinental Championship. It ended up being Razor Ramon and the model Rick Martel that were the final two men. And I will say, just in terms of like pacing and everything. Ending the night and ending the Battle Royal with the last two, and you say it's over, these two guys won the Battle Royal, is not. It doesn't have the same oomph as one person winning. But then, of course, the next week, Razor Ramon and Rick the Model Martel had their match. Razor won, and it would eventually lead to Shawn Michaels coming back and the double Intercontinental Championship ladder match at WrestleMania 10. So I love these Battle Royals. I love that it was decided this way. Simple, everybody gets a shot, and let's go. Before the Battle Royal, and this is important, before the Battle Royal, Jimmy and Jey Uso are in the locker room, and Jimmy tells Jey that, Jey lost the title because he stopped believing in himself. Jey is still mixed on whether Jimmy is right, maybe Roman is right. Jey is still following what Roman's saying. But the most important thing was, Jimmy said, "Fine, that I'm going in on everybody in that Battle Royal, including you." And Jey said, "I'll do the same thing. So are we good then?" And it was like, yeah, we're good. And they come out to the ring, and they have their matching gear, and they do the entrance together, and they're the Usos, and it's awesome. I have long been an advocate now for the Usos getting back together. I love the idea of the Usos getting back together. We're not there. That's not where the story is right now, but I do love the idea of the Usos getting back together. So we have this Battle Royal. And a couple of times throughout the match, strategically, Jimmy saves Jey from getting eliminated. Jimmy doesn't allow Jey to get eliminated, even though he's about to get eliminated. Then at the very end, it's down to Dirty Dom, who, by the way, the Dirty Dom spot of the referees not seeing that he was eliminated, and then Dom just sliding back into the ring because he realized that the referees didn't see. I mean, chef's kiss. It was awesome. But Dom is in the ring. Jimmy, LA Knight, and Jey are in the ring. Jimmy and LA Knight are fighting with each other right over the top rope. Jey pushes both of them over the top rope. And then Jey eliminates Dominic Mysterio. So controversy abound. It is the second Battle Royal in the calendar year 2025 that Jey Uso is one that has resulted in a World Heavyweight Championship match. If there is a Battle Royal where the winner gets a World Heavyweight Championship match, Jey Uso is winning it. He did it in February. Nobody thought he was going to do it. He did it on Monday Night Raw. So the main event for Saturday night's main event becomes CM Punk versus Jey Uso for the vacated World Heavyweight Championship. We have a graphic, and I loved the ending of this show. There's, controversy afoot because, as is the beauty of a Battle Royal, many people believe that different people should have won the Battle Royal, and I think that's fine. We'll hear it all. 877-344-4893, 877-344-4893. But I loved the ending of the show because Jimmy is pissed. Jimmy is pissed that Jey eliminated him. Logically, so Jimmy is pissed that Jey eliminated him. The commentators are putting over that, look, Jey put his self-interest first. Jey kind of turned on his brother there. And then at the very end, Jey Uso and CM Punk are staring each other down. Jey does not have a look on his face like, oh, okay, good, I get to wrestle my friend. This is going to be a lot of fun. Jey is all seriousness. And then you see an angry Jimmy up on the ramp in between the faces of Jey Uso and CM Punk. I thought it was artfully done. I loved that ending. There are two ways that this match could go. Now, I did not think Jey Uso was going to win this match. I thought Braun Breaker was going to win this match, and then they said Braun Breaker's not in the match. Then I said, I wonder if it'll be LA Knight. And I still think LA Knight would have been a good choice to win the match. But I am enjoying that this is a clear story beat in the Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso story. This feels like something's got to give. Maybe nothing will happen, but this is a very something's got to give scenario. And I think that a match like Jey Uso and CM Punk, if it had been other people, if there were other wrestlers that had won this Battle Royal, it would have been very obvious that the point of Saturday night's main event was to have a great match with CM Punk, have a good opponent for him, and just crown CM Punk. That the idea is, okay, Seth Rollins is gone. Let's put the World Heavyweight Championship on CM Punk. But I would argue, going into Saturday night's main event, that there is a case to be made that Jey Uso could easily win the World Heavyweight Championship. And I'll tell you why. He has a neck tattoo. Look at the tattoos on his neck. He has more neck tattoo than CM Punk. By the way, as we discussed yesterday, CM Punk also has a neck tattoo. Look behind his ear. The tattoo goes onto his neck, counts as a neck tattoo. Coming off of Saturday night's main event, officially now, all 4 men's singles champions will have neck tattoos. This is huge. This is a cultural shift. However, I'm looking at this going, there are 2 ways to do it. One way is, this whole idea is not even heel Jey Uso. It's Jey Uso with a chip on his shoulder. It's focused Jey Uso. It's not so cut and dry as, okay, Jey Uso turns heel and that's it. You know what I mean? It's like no, this is a Jey Uso that cares more about the World Heavyweight Championship than anything else. There is a version of this match where Jey Uso does something to CM Punk, something underhanded. I don't think it should be a hit with a belt, because I've seen people get hit with that belt so many times in the last few days. I watched Cody Rhodes hit Drew McIntyre with the belt. Then I watched Samoa Joe hit Adam Page with the belt. Then I watched Becky Lynch hit Maxine Dupree with the belt. And no more hitting with the belt for now. Give it a week or 2 at least. But I don't know if it's a pull of the tights. I don't know if it's a feet on the rope. I don't know if it's a thumb in the eye. Just something where Jey isn't sort of being dastardly about it, but is taking a shortcut to make sure that he wins. And then he does. And CM Punk loses the match. Jey Uso's got the World Heavyweight Championship. And Punk is looking at Jey not like, I can't believe you beat me, but more like, I can't believe you just did that. Like, that wasn't you. And it plays into the idea that Jimmy has been pushing in these promos where he goes, Jey, you are not acting like yourself. I think that could easily be played out in a way that puts the World Heavyweight Championship back on Jey Uso. And then there are many stories that you can tell with Jey Uso as the World Heavyweight Champion. But I think there may be a different direction to go. For me, I feel like the direction that I just described, feels very sort of, we're inching towards a Jey Uso heel turn. And I still say, I don't think we're doing that. The fans are still yeeting. He's still doing his entrance with the children. I mean, he's too popular right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. When I look at that photo, I see a Jimmy Uso that may have snapped. I see a Jimmy Uso that may have been pushed too far. The irony is that Jimmy Uso may have been pushed too far, following his own rules, the rules that he made. Jey did what he promised he would do. And it ended up with Jimmy Uso getting thrown over the ropes. Jimmy Uso's face now at the end of Raw looked way more like Jey Uso's face when he realized that he had to change. For me, right now, I see this going in the direction of Jimmy being the one that cost Jey Uso the World Heavyweight Championship. That Jimmy pulls the exact same thing that he pulled on Jey Uso at SummerSlam 2023. I don't see Jey Uso turning heel anymore. I don't see Jey Uso turning heel. I see Jimmy Uso turning heel. At the end of Raw, I said, oh, that's it. Because the first thought was that first pitch I gave you, which is like, Jey does something underhanded, and you see he wants that World Heavyweight title so much that he'll do things that you wouldn't expect Jey Uso to do. But then I saw Jimmy looking on. I saw Jey Uso and CM Punk staring each other down, totally focused on each other. But there's Jimmy, left out again. Sami Zayn has won the United States Championship. Solo Sikoa has won the United States Championship. Roman Reigns is the most decorated and dominant WWE champion of the modern era. Jey Uso has won the World Heavyweight Championship. and the Intercontinental Championship. Jimmy Uso, bupkis. Nothing. No singles titles. If anybody in this picture has got to be looking in the mirror and saying something's got to change, I'm doing it wrong, I would argue it's Jimmy Uso. If there's anything to come off of Jey Uso dumping Jimmy, it's Jimmy turning, not Jey turning, okay? When Hogan pulled Sid out of the Royal Rumble, it made Sid turn. Jimmy getting pulled out of the Battle Royal makes Jimmy turn. And I think that is my most likely scenario. I think that that's where this all goes. CM Punk is left as the World Heavyweight Champion. Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso are at each other's throats once more. And also, you got to imagine, if originally the idea was this is all going towards a Roman Reigns-Seth Rollins match, and that Roman Reigns-Seth Rollins match may not happen on the timetable that we thought it was going to happen, you may need to add some story elements to get in the mix with Jimmy and Jey Uso. And that's where Roman Reigns can kick in. Maybe you start building towards a CM Punk-Roman Reigns match, which, by the way, we need a payoff on, because Roman Reigns has made it very clear this whole time that he blames CM Punk for taking the wise man from him. I think all the ingredients are there right now for CM Punk to walk out with the World Heavyweight Championship and for Jimmy and Jey Uso to be split with Jimmy as the villain. Where does it go from there? We can discuss. Should Jey Uso have been the one to win that Battle Royal, or should it have been somebody else?